Hello.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy 2025.
And this is not what anyone probably would have been expecting as the first episode of a year. You're welcome.
New Year, it has not stopped me from
Eating.
eating during while we're recording. So,
New Year. Same
Can't stop,
me.
won't stop.
yeah, New Year, same me.
Yep.
I'm not one of those resolution bitches. Sorry.
No, I don't do those either, to be honest. I mean,
I'm me.
I
This
think
is
like,
me. This is
I try, and then my ADHD is like, yeah, we're not doing that today. And I'm like,
yeah.
That's not how resolutions work. You kind of have to keep at it every day." And then my ADHD is like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Yep.
So we decided that we are going to start the year with kind of a end of 2024 recap and our
A
kind of
look into what's next.
yeah. Yeah. And so we brought Angie on because the one other time that we did a kind of get to know you kind of thing, we had Angie actually interview us and do all that other stuff. And it's funny because when that happened, I think we knew Angie for like a couple of months
And
at the time.
we love having Angie here.
And we love
So
having Angie here. So
I
we
love being
figured
here.
we can talk about ourselves and everything, but we
it's
need
more
an
fun when we
outsider.
have a buffer.
Yeah.
Keep things moving
Well, that's not
in
true.
a somewhat
Don't even say
trajectory
structured because none of this
timeline.
is going to get structured.
No, 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 no. I stayed away from the word structure. I meant like on a
In true
trajectory.
Smutty Book Club fashion, that is literally our entire process. Recap of the last year and look to what's next. Everything else is purely winging it. So you're
Mhm.
welcome for the chaos. Nothing has changed. Don't worry.
Are you
To
ready?
to get things out of the way though, we do want to let you know that for January, the rest of January, I should say, we are airing reruns for the rest of January and we are starting fresh with a brand new wheel starting Fridays in February. For the remainder of January, we are going to air the Jewelry Box series for our reruns. We aired them as they came out last year because we did arcs for it. So we're going to air them consecutively for January, and it kind of gives us a pause to breathe, take in our new year, and get set up for a brand new year.
Yeah, and kind of we have some stuff we want to work on, so we're going to take January to do that. January is also my birthday month. So when
Mm-hmm.
we discussed the possibility of what we were going to do, I was like, it's too bad we can't just take a whole ass month off. And then
And
we
I
talked
said,
about
well,
it and
we will.
decided we were. Like we
Now,
learned like
you
last year because we took
can.
we took like a week off last year. And it was kind of daunting for us because we're like, well, what the fuck? Like, can we do that? And now we just don't care.
We make the rules.
We make the rules. This is our podcast. We can do what we want. Rah.
But yes, on that note, February will return with a brand new wheel. So if you have requests, as always, let us know. We are in the process of making that wheel, and it's probably pretty set in stone, but we are always taking requests, A, for specials, and B, for our next wheel. So keep them coming. And we are changing our entire like rating scale for our spice rating.
Yes, because we learned that, well, yes, the numbers in inches are sometimes really nice to figure out. We,
Sometimes they're a little too vague.
and so
Well,
we decided,
they can be interpreted many different ways.
yes. So, how are we going to do this, Ariel?
We decided that we were going to put it on an actual pepper scale, and we wanted to rate it for the new year. We're going to change our entire rating system so that we are rating it like bell pepper, as in no spice, and we're going to go up from there. And so that way you can actually tell how spicy the book was based on how spicy the pepper was. So our scale is going to look like 0 being absolute bottom bell pepper. And then we're going to go poblano, jalapeno, serrano, cayenne, habanero, ghost pepper, Carolina Reaper, all the way to Pepper X, like
Chemical X.
chemical. So look out for our new rating scale and let us know what you think too. Comment if you think this will be a good change for us.
Yes.
Woo.
So we'll turn it over to Angie. our MC for the day.
Okay.
Yes, on
Yay!
that note,
Pew, pew, pew.
let's talk about
Let's
2024.
talk about you.
Oh boy.
So, the first thing I want to talk about is where you were this time last year versus where you are now. You've experienced a lot of growth. A lot of it, you would say, unprecedented growth, because if I remember correctly, your goal was to get to like maybe 1,000 listeners. It seems like you may have blown that out of the water a little bit. You want to talk a little bit about that and
Yeah. Yeah. So this
I
time
ignore the
last year,
numbers. I just think 2 people listen to us.
so I have the numbers because I am that person. I update them consistently on my board. So this time last year, yes, we were so excited when we hit 200. And then we kept growing a little bit, and I made the goal at the end of last year. I wanted to hit 1,000 listeners. And that was fine. And I was like, that sounds fabulous to me.
And
And I was
I
like,
think at the time I remember going, "Really, Crystal? That's a lot of people."
right. And at the time I was like, well, it took us almost this whole year to get to this point, so it's got to take us a whole year to get to the next point. And so what we did not account for is that people apparently enjoy listening to us talk
Well,
because
and this is our first full year. This is our
yeah.
first full.
Yeah, it is. So I I'm going to bring up the numbers right now. So as of today, which is December 14th, I'm just going to let everyone know ahead of time. You're welcome.
New Year, not
Happy
really.
New Year. We have 387 followers on YouTube, which this time last year, YouTube literally had just started and we had maybe five. And then our biggest growth is that we have 4,253 on Spotify, which is an
Woo!
aggressive amount because I wanted 1,000. So, and so that,
Aggressive is a term,
Yeah.
an
yeah,
adjective. Yeah.
we also hit 161,000 all-time downloads, which is absolutely insane. So it's just,
Bonkers.
we had so much growth in the last year and it was crazy. And we still haven't figured out how the fuck that happened. And we still like to pretend that 2 to 6 people. Sometimes I bump it to 6, but for the most part, it's like two to
Sometimes
six
I
people.
bump it to 1.
Yeah,
You're
2 to 6
bring it
people,
down to 1.
2 to 6 people listening to us. And I think that in all honesty, I enjoy keeping the expectations very low because then we're not disappointed. And at the same time, like we didn't start this for anybody but ourselves. And
Mhm.
I think that staying, I guess humble would be kind of the word. I guess I don't know. I am proud of us and I am happy as to where we are, but at the same time like I know who we are as people and I think that I mean, we're still sitting at a 2.6 on Spotify, which honestly is better than it was before because it was like a 1 point something at one point in time. And we're like, oh, oops.
I mean, honestly, we're spicy. If we
Is
didn't
that your
have
rating?
Yeah.
2.6?
Yeah. But
Oof.
honestly, I don't even care because 4,000 people of you still listen and it's crazy. And
Yeah.
that's
and it
that's all
doesn't
that
stop them from listening. So
it doesn't stop them from listening and it doesn't we aren't going to change who we are as people. It's just not going
We
to change.
listen and we don't judge.
Yeah, so
well,
there's
it's like
that.
when you have a book series. Sometimes you might find that 2 to 3 star book series and you still
Better.
keep going because it's a train wreck, but you just keep going.
Hmm.
Just because it's enjoyable doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
But in this case, it's both, so we're good.
Right.
You know.
So we just so the growth thing was really cool and a little shocking when I looked at the numbers and compared them and I was like, "Oh, fuck."
Do you
That's
think you'll want to
crazy.
do something special when you hit like 500,000 all times, like maybe a
Maybe.
giveaway?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, well, so
do
we
you
we
think
originally
that
discussed doing something at 100 and then I think both of our brains shit out, so we didn't
I
do
think we had something.
it.
I think we
We
were
had a
both
lot
in the
going
middle
on at the
of
time.
like I think it was like school for me, and
Yeah. We
we just
just had a
had
lot going on.
crap.
We do want to do some more stuff. It's funny because we started the process this past last year of attempting to re-record old episodes.
Mm.
How's that going so far?
Not
Not
great.
great.
Life happened.
Life happened, but at the same time, like we have plans for things. It's just doing the things.
Sometimes it's a slower
Yeah, it's a slow process, but it is
going,
on our list. But we are trying, we have goals. So, I mean, that's
and
great.
by that she means more of fixing some of our episodes where we went on and we were really vague and we
We
were
didn't
like,
talk about the book at
"Oh,
all.
I like it when he did that thing." And then we didn't say anything about what that thing was, and it made no sense.
The biggest one for us
You had to be
was
there.
Right.
like most of our like beginning 10 to 15 episodes where they're 20 something minutes long, and we maybe said 5 words about the book and then we didn't say anything else. So those are the things that we're like trying to go back and fix, and like we are redoing them. And then I know we have we there's plans.
There's plans and things in
They are
motion.
more than
Mm.
concepts of plans because they are actual plans that will eventually get
No.
accomplished. They're just not concepts.
But we digress.
Anyways, sorry.
What do you think has probably been one of your favorite recordings this year? And it doesn't have to be necessarily the book, but what do you think? Does anything stick out?
Honestly,
Or any
anytime we've done
specific
a
minutes,
fucking
moments?
absolutely unhinged book and then it just goes wild.
Falls
Those have
from there.
always been like the
There
most
was
fun for
one
me.
not that long ago. I think it was in October or November that I don't even remember what it was. I'd have to look. But I just remember when I was editing it that I was sitting there and I was like,
Giggling.
yeah, I was like, this is more fun for me to listen to than I think it was for me to read the book.
I
And
know what you're talking about because you texted me about it. I don't remember what episode it was. Just so you know, guys, everything blends together at
oh,
this
it really
point.
does.
But no, it's one of those things like sometimes we have those, and then of course, like we always have our moments of I know when we first started and we first switched our format, we argued a lot. And like we've been friends for 20 years. So like if we're gonna get offended, it's fine. But sometimes our brains are in two separate parts. And we just discussed this recently. Where like I'll be talking about one thing, she'll be talking about another thing, and we think that we know what the other person is talking about, but realistically, it's not
Well,
even in
and
the
because we're
same vein of
so
anything.
used to each other knowing what each other is talking about, so we take it for granted
Yeah.
and we say less.
Right. And then so we get into arguments and then
Hmm.
we are getting frustrated. And so like it was a lot of growing pains in the this past year.
I think it might have been Eden, the one that you labeled that I just don't give a
Oh, yes,
fuck.
yes, yes. It was
I
Eden.
think
So
that
that was the one where Ariel stopped giving a fuck. And
I was just like, nah,
I
out for the
labeled it
year.
that way. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I it's funny too because like I always joke with Ariel about things where I'm like I'm just going to label it like this. And I don't think she thinks I'm serious half the time, and then I do it and then she's shocked. Or recently I edited something and I threw in a Law and Order sound and I just get a text message from her and she goes, dead Law and Order sound. But like I'll throw like
The
little
dumb.
things. I'll sometimes warn her ahead of time if I'm going to add stuff in there. But then there's times where I just don't warn her ahead of time because I want to see her reaction when she listens to it. Because so I'm sure that anyone who's been following us knows for the longest time I was the only one editing.
Right.
And
And we've learned over time to
that I
let
can't do
go of
that.
things and divide more. Well,
Yeah.
and
Divide and conquer.
Yeah.
right. Well, there was plenty of stuff that I was doing too, but we learned like what took up more time and what took this and that, and that we both needed to be doing all aspects of things so that we both knew and how to do everything.
Because then we would get
And
frustrated because
mhm.
like then because it's a lot. And at the
And
time
Crystal has
too,
started to timeline where I was the only one doing that. So
do I want to die every time? Absolutely.
now
But then of
Crystal
course
is
when I took
timelining
over,
specials for us.
yeah, and when I took over for the month, I wrote out everything, and that actually changed how now Ariel also scripts herself. So like we're scripted but not scripted at the same time, but it helps us keep kind of on track a little bit easier. But so we have made a
More of
lot
an
of
outline.
changes. Right. Yeah. Whereas before, like Ariel's outline is like bullet points,
Of
and
just like,
then
hey, don't forget to talk about this.
right, and it would take us a lot longer to record because then like we're having to think about like what we're gonna say kind of next. And but so the other change was is we changed the editing program that we used to. So before it was just all audio and you had to listen and pay attention and do all this other stuff. So now everything is actually scripted out ahead of time on the computer, like it auto scripts everything. And we
Hmm.
can go through and it makes editing so much fucking easier because we take out the ums and the uhs, even though I learned what Ariel's ums looked like in an audio form very easily from having to get rid of them all the time.
And we learned to work to like that it's okay. Like, so all the episodes that I edit, Crystal goes through it with a fine-tooth comb afterwards and double checks. All the episodes that Crystal edits, I do the same. So we're always like double checking each other, and that's okay. It's not like, oh, I don't trust that Crystal can do that. It's we're working together to make sure that
The
we're
second pair of eyes.
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah, because sometimes we'll miss
which is
something.
always needed
Yeah,
because
because we'll miss something
especially when you're
or
like getting into
yeah.
something.
Yeah. And like, because sometimes like I don't slide something back enough where it cuts off a word or something like so like
Mhm.
there's little things that like we'll just catch.
You're listening for quality control,
Right.
kind of.
Yeah, that pretty much
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
But we learned like to do that kind of stuff. So it got
Well,
easier and Ariel's gotten a lot like more comfortable with the editing shit even though sometimes I'll get text messages I think I fucked something up and then I have to like talk her through
Well,
some
and
shit.
you've gotten so much more comfortable timelining specials. And honestly,
Mhm.
especially when we do novellas, you're better at it because you know how to drag out a novella way better than me, where I'm just like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You're like, no, I can make this shit last.
Yeah, well sometimes you
well,
need to make it last. It's not it can't always be wham bam thank you ma'am.
with that said, with a
Sorry.
full year's of episodes worth, right? You guys, as you mentioned earlier, you have this is like your first full year of doing all these episodes. How do you think that you've kept the podcast fresh and engaging for listeners?
So I feel like so this might be a flaw of ours, but
One of many.
one of many. But I almost think that it's because the way that we attack it and the way that we go into it is what's fun for us and what's amusing for us. And we're not as focused as, oh, what are people going to like? Maybe that's why our rating is the way it is, but do we care? No. We're focusing on because like Crystal said, this was an outlet for us to begin with. And in that we want to be our primary always thing, no matter what. But I know this year we focused on slowing down, not being so militant about our wheel. Like we stopped the wheel and we are like, can we do that? And did a whole month dedicated to Halloween for October, a whole month dedicated to November. You know what I mean? We made our Burr months like special.
Yeah, I think the only thing that we ever kind of aim towards what's popular is sometimes we will pick books to put on the wheel or even in specials that are currently like,
But I think that's more only if we want to read them.
well, yeah. But
But
that's
we
like,
do take a lot of
well,
requests.
and that's the thing.
So,
We take the requests. We've started
We
looking,
take
well,
those seriously.
we have done some books where like, well, it's kind of popular, so we should do it, but we have wanted to read them at the same time. But before we just picked
Oh,
books and just threw
and
them in there and then
yes,
like no one had heard of them before.
right. Well,
So
and
we're
before
kind
it
of
was
getting a little bit more.
only what we like would have read ourselves and wanted to
Mhm.
read, but we've really been trying to step out of the box, especially this year, and really challenge ourselves and broaden our reading spectrum.
Case in point when we read Credence.
Yeah, but we
oh,
are.
brother,
We're trying
cousin,
to
uncle.
challenge ourselves and see where our limits are and see and I mean, look at Crystal. When we started this podcast and we read like The Sinner, she was literally dying. And
And
then
now,
right, and now she's picking books like Slaying the Holiday. Like
little stranger.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we're trying to
So,
expand our own palettes as well as like maybe other people's and letting them have the colorful different choices as well.
would you say it's like a balance between chasing the joy for you guys and also making sure you're engaging with your audience and also challenging yourselves?
I
Think
don't
so.
know if it's necessarily a balance. I think we could do better at
Sure.
balancing the
But we are who we
um
are.
right. I think we could do better at balancing the catering part because we don't make that a focus, but we could definitely be better at that. But like Crystal said, we are us.
In the past year, were there any unexpected challenges, whether technical or logistical or creative, that you had to navigate, and how did you overcome them?
Well, Crystal needed to take 2 weeks off recording because I had other things going on. And so trying to logistically plan that and slam shit in, it was a little stressful and I mean, it is my fault, but it's just one of those things. But we handled it really well, and
Yeah. And I don't think that was the only time. I would say schedule
no,
changes in and of himself because
we
like
do,
whenever you would start school again or the start of my school year, the end of my school year, you know what I mean? We
yeah,
having to navigate our own personal lives while keeping to the regular schedule of every Friday and every other Monday sometimes got tricky.
yeah, especially like there were definitely times throughout the year, both her and I, like the mental our mental state would affect like shit, I can't focus on this, I can't read this, can we please push it off a day, can we please
Hmm.
push it off a week, can we please do something, and then we would just try to make sure, like it never got to the point where it was like fuck quickest, well okay I lied, that recently happened, but like it's one of those things where it's like shit we can't do, we need to plan it not around the extreme quick turnaround. We were doing that for a long time where we were actually like literally week to week recording and like struggling, but it's because we had so much other stuff going on in our lives. Like we both work, we have kids, we have so much other
Right.
stuff going on. And like, as like,
Like we both like right. Like I work full time. I'm a full-time single mom. Crystal works and goes to school and she has to juggle the challenges of sharing a child not only with her own life but
Partner.
like her partner as well and navigating those schedules. So it can be a lot.
yeah. And so it just, I mean, it can get a little interesting sometimes when we're through that, and then of course like we have to deal with our own mental health stuff, and sometimes like I think we took time off over the summer, I think for a brief period of time. We had stuff recorded ahead of time, so it was fine to take the time off, but we were both like we just sometimes we struggle. Like everyone
You
else
burn
struggles.
out. Yeah.
And so like sometimes you need that little mental break to just like take a pause. And then I had a conversation with Spencer at one point. He's like, "This is something that you do for fun. This
Right.
should not be stressful
So
for
when it gets
you."
stressful, we need to take a step back.
We have gotten better about our control problems to let each other do things.
But that took a while in and of itself.
So it's one of those things. So like we had a lot to overcome the year, and it's mostly just because of our own personal stuff. And I mean, we make it work anyways. And again, we've been friends for so long, and I think that is what helps, is that we know if one of us is struggling and one of us is going through some things, that like it's okay, and we know
Yeah.
that like we just need to take a pause. But again, like we've had to do it a few times, and it happens.
Well, and it took forever of me because well, especially like with the editing and stuff, it took forever of where Crystal would be overwhelmed and stressed out because she would have so much to do. And I would be like, I can help you. I can help you. Let me help you. But she didn't want to give up that control. She didn't want to allow someone else to do it because what if it's not done the same exact way and blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing concept. I get it. But, and it just took that.
So, would you say that this process has helped you grow personally as well?
For me, yes. I feel like I've been trying that this year anyways, just as a human being and as a person, just letting things go. Like,
It's hard.
yeah. Okay. And
It's
I've
really
been
hard.
really trying, like, at work to just be like, that is not my job. I'm
Proud of
not
you for
like,
that.
that's not my job. Like, I'm not getting involved in that. Not my monkey, not my circus. Does it hurt my heart? Absolutely. But I've been really trying. Does it always work? No. It has helped my mental headspace more. So, and this, I mean, and sharing the load. I know personally that Crystal helping just timelining specials helps me tremendously, even though I have to shift that burden then to editing. But to me, that's something different. Even though that might
Yeah,
be the same amount of work or like it's just or more, it's
It's
it's a
something
different
categorized
process.
differently.
different,
Yeah.
right? It's a different process. So for me, it's
It's
better because
helpful. Yeah.
right, in my brain it's a change.
And honestly, that huge change came with, I think the big turning point was when I took over for the month. And that was a birthday gift for Ariel. But that was when I really was like, fuck, I can't timeline all of these books, because it was like
And
five or six
edit
books,
everything.
and edit every single one of them for the entire, like I cannot do it and I can't. And so that was when I was really like, I need to start really letting go. And that was a big turning point. But I also feel, as far as like growth personally too, I think that doing this with Ariel has like, it hasn't changed our friendship, but it kind of has like deepened it a little bit more too. Cause yeah, when I first moved to Florida, like we would talk every so often. Now we talk fucking every day, but like it's one of those things like, but that's who we are as people anyways. Like
Yeah.
they're
But
not
like if
there, so
we
we don't
went a few
focus.
days without talking, the other one would be like, "Oh crap, let me get a hold of her."
Yeah, or if it's been like a week, we'd be like, you dead
You,
yet?
you
No? Cool.
okay? Right.
Sounds
Like you
great.
good? You
Like,
Pulse
alive?
check.
so it's one of
Right.
those things. But so I think that like the thing I do appreciate about doing this is that like I have seen, not, I don't know these people personally, but I have kind of noticed, like, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, I listen to a lot of like true crime and all that other stuff. But I have noticed like a lot of times with pairs, something ends up happening where they start to like resent each other, and you can sense it. And you can
Oh.
sense like it just in the tone. Like obviously it's still like put out there like, oh, well, they're still, but they're, it kind of feels like it would turn friendships into treating more like coworkers, I guess, at that point.
Oh.
And I think because of our mindset of this is fun and two people listen to us, that it's
Right.
still like we're gonna treat it. We talk shit to each other every fucking day.
Well, and not only that, but the few times that it has gotten contentious, it was more important for us, I think, to fix us than it was to fix the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
Putting
that,
people over,
right.
like, yeah.
Like we will never let this get in the way of us, our friendship, because like our kids are the same age. We've grown up together. We've been through a lot of shit together. And like it would be so stupid to like let something like this
Just because
interfere.
we have different
Yeah.
like
Because yeah,
opinions about this or
we've
that.
argued before. And again, it was honestly I think the biggest arguments we had was when we first changed everything. And that was like it was such a
And
hard, but we neither
90% of
one of
it
us
was
fucking like
like
change.
communication.
It was a
Right.
communication
90%
error.
of it was like
Oh, I hate the
communication
miscommunication trope.
and
Oh,
Yeah.
frustration over change, and we're not getting out our feelings and communicating over it.
Yeah.
And it was a taken for granted thing because, again, we've been friends for 20 years and we don't always have to have full thoughts with each other because we know what we're talking about. So when you go into that and you just assume each other's going to know exactly what you want to say and what you're talking about, and then we have no idea, and then it gets contentious, and you're like,
like, actually, no.
right, that's not even close to what I'm talking about.
Fucking call me.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, but I think that like it's helped a lot. Like our friendship has always been strong anyways, but I think that
Well,
it's kind
and
of like
when
added an
I'm
extra thing.
a bitch and I say something feisty to Crystal through the camera, she knows that if I the other day said,
so
right,
what's
well,
that?
if I say, oh, it's because her name starts with a K, she knows that I'm not
She doesn't
slut
actually
shaming
mean it.
her. I'm
I
just
just like to play into it and be dramatic.
right.
But I
A,
know
making
that
a joke, and B,
yeah.
mostly probably being jealous because she knows I have spent a lot of years living vicariously through her.
Mhm.
So we have that past and that history that she knows those things that
So
other people
it'd
might
be a
not
lot different
realize.
than if someone was like coming at me for something. I know she's not being serious. And she
Mhm.
knows I'm not being serious either. But there will be times like
Honestly, Crystal could, with her boyfriend in tow, line up a 30 pack of men and women outside her door and run through them. And I'd be like, good job.
no,
Indeed,
I'd be like,
indubitably.
it's your K day. She'd
you're
be like,
so
okay.
funny. But I mean, there's been times throughout recording where like it may seem like we're being snippy or
Well,
arguing with
I
each
guess
other,
that's
but
where I
we're
was
just doing
going
it for
with that.
fun.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
right.
just for fun.
And if
And
people don't
Also,
realize
you're a
what are.
Taurus and you're an Aquarius.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's a real fun time.
Well, and also it helps that you are raising a Taurus, and
Mhm.
maybe that has helped you raise a Taurus, that you've had one in your back pocket for so long.
Help me. No. Yeah, no,
God
it's
help
just
us all.
God, yeah. It's interesting and it's so funny too because then the other thing that I appreciate is that like, throughout doing this, Ariel has gotten it's a it's a good and a bad thing. And I'm only going to preface this because I have to edit. Sometimes both of us do it. But sometimes I think Ariel's gotten a little too comfortable having a camera up and forgets that it exists sometimes because some of the shit she does or says on camera, no one
Facials.
sees the light of day. Because I'm like, dude, we can't
Yes,
say that. So, I mean, and
indeed.
I'm sure that it's been caught over time too, because like I'll say things like here and there throughout the thing. And if anyone ever sees some unedited footage, it'll be me like, well, can't do that. Or like I'll
That-
say something
That's
where I have
my
to put her
I don't
back
give
in
a
check.
fuck Taurus part.
Yeah.
That was literally the reason we started recording
Yeah.
our book get-togethers, because that's actually how this whole thing started. If you guys didn't hear our origin story from way back before, but that's actually how this whole thing got started, was because so Crystal and I have, like I said, been together for a very long time, and through our friendship, we have also shared both of our mutual love of reading. Like even in high school, we would borrow every single book from the library together and read them together and blah, blah, blah. So that extended into our adult years. And so we were actually just sharing some books we had read together and sharing some passages and making sure that each other was also reading it. And we would get together on the phone to talk about our books. And Crystal was like, I don't even care if we're just recording these for ourselves, but I need to record this shit.
And it's funny
I
too
just, I need
because the
this.
one who really actually put the thought into my head was Spencer because he was hearing me talk about it. It was funny.
People's hero.
Yeah.
Knowing all of them, Ariel makes a bunch of facial expressions that we fun and we never get to see. Do you guys think that you will ever put out like a blooper reel kind of thing
So Crystal
together?
has talked about in the future, as we grow traction, possibly making a Patreon and putting all of our like full unedited shit on Patreon, or clips of fun or better stuff or
Stuff
behind the
that people
scenes
haven't
stuff.
seen.
Right.
And it would
Um,
be like a backlog of everything that we've done because we have done a
yeah.
lot. And do you know how many videos we have? A lot
And
because we started
something,
video recording for a while.
one of my favorite things. So originally, when I started taking over editing some episodes, I was doing just the specials because she was going to be timelining just the specials. But then I'm not as fun editing as Crystal, because she used to love editing specials. She would make all these like sound effects and these cool stuff. And I just didn't, I guess I didn't have that.
Imagination.
I guess, sure. But for real, I'm a lot more like black and white thinker in some ways, in that kind of aspect, you know? So, right. When everything kind of went to, it was way too overwhelming, I was like, dude, does it matter what episodes I'm editing as long as I'm doing the same amount? Let me edit it like regular episodes and you can come back to your specials. And Crystal has really kind of embraced having her specials back. And one of my favorite things about her having her specials back is a lot of times, especially if we have a quite a bit of funky things in our episodes, she'll make like a blooper reel at the end.
And
And
I've started
it's
doing
one
it
of my
more
favorite things.
because I've been starting to do it a lot more now that the specials are video. And so I've been the things that I clip out, especially if they're funny, because sometimes they have to be pulled out. So it's not that we're pulling stuff out even though they're funny, like sometimes we have to. But I will take those or like us tripping over our own words, which no one would ever usually hear the light of day of. I started clipping those and putting them at the end. And because everything, all the specials have gone to video now, surprise, surprise, in case someone didn't know that,
We
I've
don't take
started including
everything
those.
out, but
No,
you know, some of the big
the
ones.
specials we definitely leave a lot more in
Hmm.
than our regular episodes just because our specials are typically unhinged. My favorite part of editing the specials, and probably partially also why Ariel told me to take them back over, is I put different music at the end every time.
And yep, she has her special music and she loves her sound effects.
I do love a sound effect.
So I didn't want
I
to
throw them
take
into regular episodes occasionally too,
I
but the
don't
specials are
like to
where we
be
have fun.
a joy stealer. I don't, that's not, I don't like to be a joy stealer. And it was something that did bring Crystal quite an immense amount of joy. And like, it was kind of an odd thing that was like the first thing she gave up. It made sense in her head. Oh, she was like, okay, well, I'm going to be timelining the specials, so
So,
you can take the specials. Like it made sense. And she doesn't like to sit there and listen to herself talk. So
no.
like it was a win-win.
So now editing wise, sometimes like will get assigned, but not really, something to do, and then like something happens. So she'll take over. Like when I was gone for 2 weeks, she took
Mhm.
over a lot of that heft for me because I wasn't going to be able to get it done. And we still need to get the things done. But if she needs me to take over some things, like when Ariel forgets that she actually has to edit a specific
Mhm.
episode and then completely forgot about it, I will take over and I'll just do
Yep.
it. And it's just and it's not because I don't think that she's competent enough to finish it. I
No,
just have a lot more
and I
experience
still
with it.
hesitate even now. It's kind of
Yeah.
funny. I still hesitate even now to be like, "Hey, do you need help? Do you want me to? I know you got a lot going on. Do you want me to edit that?" Because I don't want her to be like, "No, it's mine."
That's okay, because I completely forgot I had an episode to edit and I forgot all about it. Had no idea. Oops.
Well, if you had it uploaded in there, I probably could have helped.
You know what? I
Oops,
didn't upload it
I
in there,
did
and
it
I don't even think I put
again.
them. Did I even put the videos in our shared drive?
I have no idea,
I
honestly.
honestly, there's been times where we actually forget an episode exists.
I'm pretty sure that has now just
It's
happened.
it's happened a couple of times where I'll be like,
Yeah, I
oh
have no clips from it, so
no,
awesome
yeah,
for
they're on my
us.
computer. I don't even think I have them labeled yet. I
Good
think they're still in there.
job for
Love
us.
it. So good for me. Well, sometimes you're like on top of it and you'll text me at five
Yeah,
o'clock in the morning.
sometimes I am on top of it.
So, but so it's
Sometimes.
one of those things where like there was one time where we're sitting here and I'm looking at my board and I'm like, huh, I don't think we did anything for that episode yet. And I'm like, Ariel, this, and she goes, I forgot we recorded that. So like
Which
sometimes that
is
happens. It
not to
just
say anything about the specific book or author. It's
No,
just
but we
no.
just we get
No, we do so
so
much and we get so much
yeah,
in our head
it
and we
just
usually will
blends
do one right
and
after the other. And there was a time where
especially when we got shit going on in our
yeah.
personal stuff and it's just
So we'll do
I've
that
had
occasionally, but
I got 3 field trips in one week. We like it's like I got stuff going
crazy.
on. Yeah.
Anyway, now that we have been talking about authors and books, and anyways, are there any books that you are looking forward to reading in the next year?
Yes.
there's so many.
So many.
I'm going to
PBR is
restrict,
endless.
yeah, no, duh. I mean, that's very relatable for everybody listening, but
Yes.
yes,
So
I'm going to restrict you to one book each.
I don't think I can do that.
Ooh, tough nuggets. Crystal, you go first.
Shit.
Meanwhile, I'm going to happily stuff my face with a burger.
You know what? I don't care, Angie, what you said. I'm looking forward to Onyx Storm, and I'm also looking to Seraph. So, fucking suck a dick. I love you. But the Onyx Storm one, I am looking forward to because I read the first two, and I'm just
Same.
looking, and it left off on a I need to know more kind of thing. So I really need it in my life.
I'm looking forward to it and not because I'm in the same boat. And I also know that it has to get worse before it gets better because it's a 5 book series and this is book 3.
Yeah.
So I want to know, but I also really, really, really don't want to know.
Yeah.
So for me, I also am going to give you two, but I am also cheating a little bit because one is a multi-part series. Okay, listen, hear me out.
Angie's rolling her eyes.
So, okay, easy one. The first one is the next book in the Seraphine series, Benito's story, which is coming out in January. So that's going to be
Something
like
Geneva, right?
top tier. Yeah, stalking. Yep. It's going to be top tier immediate read for me. I'm pretty sure I signed up to ARC it, but sometimes I get surprised by those things because I sign up and then I forget. And then they're just like, oh, poof, there it is in your email. I think I did, but that
We
was a
do
long
that all
time
the
ago.
time.
And then the other one is a trilogy. It is the Pretty Ruthless Monsters trilogy by Ava Ashwood. And I have been collecting them as they come out and they're downloaded onto my Kindle. I'm waiting for the last one to come out in June, hopefully sooner. It's supposed to be moved sooner, but that's like the if shit hits the fan and crap happens, that's the date. But it should be before April because her world is like kind of all encompassing. So like all her like trilogies and quartets, yeah, they're all in the same world.
Love when that happens. Shane Rose has the same
Seriously,
thing. And
I live
honestly,
for it. So I have been waiting for like this story for a long time. And so I know that I'm not going to be able to handle it book by book. So I've been collecting them as they come out so that when all of them come out, I'm bam, 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 bam. Those are a couple that I'm excited for 2025. What about you?
oh my God, there's just so many.
Oh, but you can only pick one, Angie.
Yeah, that was the role for you, not for me. I'm excited. to finish the Ice Home series. I'm also very sad
I
because
know.
I only have like 5 books left.
I know. I have been literally like pushing them off and pushing them off and pushing them off.
Oh, Ariel, the one that you didn't read with me.
Hmm.
Oh my God.
Good.
You find something out about Earth.
Oh.
Yeah.
I plan
There's
I plan to have that be one of my December books. So,
because when I read it, like the timeline of when I read it, it hit different.
oh God.
I have a question
Yes.
because we're still on 2024. So I actually have a question for Ariel.
Mm.
This past year, was there anything that you were a part of or did or anything that you felt extremely proud of yourself for accomplishing?
For the podcast
Yeah, or in general.
or personally?
Yeah.
I think I guess both would probably be what Angie was saying, that I just have been taking a breath and learning how to just take a step back and not have to be the person to micromanage everything and not have my hands. I think I saw this TikTok one time. I think I shared it with you guys, or at least to Angie, because I knew she'd be like, yes. And it was one of those ones where it was like, you're a juggler and you have all your balls that you're juggling. You see somebody who's struggling and you're like, oh, add it to me. I got you. And you're constantly adding other people's balls to your little circle of juggling
Because Ariel
until
really loves balls.
until now you're so overwhelmed when you could have just had your own. And it's good to be a support and help to people, but it's one of those put your mask on first kind of situations.
There's also like the community aspect where you can water your community,
Hmm.
but also you need to be watered
That's what I
also.
mean, right? Like
So if
you
there's
support
not that
others, but
reciprocal nature,
you can't help anyone if you're dying because you haven't put your own mask on first. Right. That's what I meant. Yeah.
no, sure, and
Yeah.
that also, but also people aren't as quick to take balls out of your hand to juggle. So
Right.
that reciprocal nature also has to be there.
And I feel like that's the thing, is I don't tend to rely on other people very much or allow people to take balls from my circle. Like
You will,
Crystal said, I just like balls too much. I know, I beat you to it. And part of that is trauma. And I will, like, I'll be upfront and be, I've come a little bit of a long way and be able to be the first one to say that. But part of it is I don't give people a chance. And I have been a little bit better about that this year, just as a human being and as a person. My own child's doctor kind of gave me like one of those like harsh things, not that like at the beginning of the year, and kind of was like, you can't help him unless you help yourself first. And I'm sick of this. We need to fix you first. And she's been doing some work with me, and she did a lot of like blood testing with me and found some things that like I didn't even realize that like was a thing. And so I've actually been working on my own health, and it's hard and it sucks to try to work on yourself, but
I'm so proud
trying.
of you. My answer is not as nice.
Oh, oh no.
I
Are you going in the opposite direction?
I got to meet an author that I really like, and I got to beta read for them. And that was so proud. I was proud of myself.
I love
And I
that.
got
Honestly,
approached to beta
well,
read too.
but
And
that's
I was really
huge for
excited about
you
it.
because I remember at the beginning of the year when I did a little beta reading, and I feel like the first things out of your mouth was, I would never in a million years do that. That is not fun for me. No, thank you. And so I feel like that's a huge growth for you yourself
I think being
to
hugged by
feel
her in person probably
comfortable.
broke my soul
Well, not
down
only
a
that, but
lot.
to feel comfortable and confident in yourself enough to do that also.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting experience. So, for anyone who doesn't know, we've read the books on the podcast before. It's the Elodie Hart series. And so I met her when I went to the shit show that was Readers Take Denver. And I mean, I met a lot of really cool people there. Like I made a lot of really good friends. It was a horrendous time. And I met her while we were there. And of course, I had ordered a shit ton of books and Ariel ordered a shit ton of books and I was the person with the most orders. So there was
And
that.
also, Angie told Crystal to get her some books.
Yes. So that happened and I met with her and we discussed the potential of doing a author interview with her at some point and she agreed and she was actually thrilled and happy to do this. We got to work that out. Anyways, so that was cool and then it kind of like grew into she got temporarily banned on Facebook and she messaged me personally to ask me to tell the people in the group that she was banned. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I am nobody." And I straight up told her to her face when I met her in person that there were times where Ariel and I forget that she is a person and not just an author. Like that she is not just an author, but she is a human. Because for us, we went so we I don't know if it's the same thing for Ariel, but it probably it might be. In my brain,
The idolization.
yeah.
We
It's like you
fangirl a little too
I
much.
fangirl you and you're an author and you write these books and you have this time. Why are you talking to me? Like I am nobody. Like this is I am not anybody, but she is Sarah has never treated either one of us. Like she's been really nice to both of us. Like at all like we are like nobody. And I've expressed that to her before in like I've messaged her and she'll message me. So it's one of those things. So then she approached me because I have such a love for the Alchemy series. Everyone knows and everyone knows my favorite book, but that's besides the point. And I have made it very well known. And she asked me to beta read for
Ooh,
her for the
little
final book.
nugget. If you're listening,
The
guess
Alchemy series
what
it's
Crystal's favorite alchemy book is. And if you get it right,
Sucker.
you get bragging rights forever. And
Okay.
maybe they
Maybe I'll
might
mail you
shout you
something
out.
nice. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
mail you
because
something
Crystal's
nice.
making some
Yes. That'll be for cools.
stickers.
So for me, like that was a huge thing. And I mean, stepping out of my comfort zone to go all the way to another state to go to a book convention while it was a mess was also a huge thing for
Yeah,
me.
that
And
was
yes,
huge.
Ariel lived vicariously through me with that one, but it was one of those things. So like, yeah, it was a little self-serving this year, but it was cool to me and I thought that was great.
No, I get that.
I wouldn't call it self-serving.
Thought
I would
I
say
didn't think that it was
It's
as
cool, bookish
loving
person growth.
as your thing was.
no,
I was like,
because
I'm sitting here like, oh boy,
no, because honestly,
mine's more bragging.
no, I think mine's a little more I think mine's self-serving too, because I'm sitting here like,
Stop being amazing people and then being like, I'm
well,
selfish.
no, it's
Shut
like
up, both of
when you
you.
stop and you're like, you're working on yourself, but like you were working on yourself in a different way. You know what I mean? Just because we're working on
This is
ourselves
what
in different
happens.
ways
We're
doesn't
like, oh,
mean.
we did all these great things, but oh shit, sorry guys. And I think honestly, so weirdly, I think that that kind of rounds out why we don't care that maybe there's only two people is because like we personally think we're fantastic and we will cheer each other on and all
We
that
think each
matters.
other is fantastic, not
But then
the
we feel that if
internal.
we start bragging about it, it's kind of bragging and we don't like
Yeah.
doing that. That's
That's why
also
they
drama.
hire me
So I
to
guess there's
brag
that.
for them.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm here for free.
We hired Angie with love.
Yes.
Yes.
That's all we can afford, guys.
Yes.
Oh,
Honestly,
no.
that's currency, TBH. Okay. I do have a question regarding the other thingy. Do you guys think that you'll be doing more than this one interview that you're expected to do? Like more than this one author? Like, do you think you'll be bringing on authors and doing
We want
maybe
to.
like different
I
specials in
I
that way?
think the appropriate response is we're open but not looking.
Yeah. So
And
You
that
put
may
that on
I
be
LinkedIn.
only I only was shaking and sweating when I asked because for us,
we continuously think that we're not
we're
like,
not important
well,
enough.
right. Well, I
We're
Which
mean,
is
not
so
like we're
but
not
crazy.
big
maybe when
enough
we
or we're
get
not,
right.
one of those things. So we don't like it would be amazing. And yes, it would be so cool to have like other authors and like other people want us to talk to them and like be cool with it. And like
Right.
give me an indie author. But at the same time, we would
Hey.
be delusional to think, "Oh my God, everyone is like fighting for us to talk to them." No, because half of these people don't know who we are. But it's one of those things that we are petrified to approach anybody.
Oh,
Are you
absolutely.
kidding me? When we started getting authors following us back
Are
on
you kidding me?
TikTok, we would be
Angie
texting
approached
back and forth.
us.
Angie approached us. And like,
I did.
and do you know Ariel and I had conversations back and forth like, oh my God, how do we not come across as like, yes, please do this? And like,
We had extensive crisis when Angie approached us. We had to have like an hour
To your
conversation about it.
credit, it did
How,
seem very
like,
nonchalant from your
I'm
like
end.
so glad
how do
because
we
we were not
respond?
non we were
How do we respond to this?
and that's the thing
It
is
was like that movie, the Inside Out movie. Our brain was like,
yeah.
Hey, listeners, if you ever listen to these two lovely ladies and you think, there is such thing as being too self-aware and
You can
critical,
also shoot your shot. And we've told this people all the time, not don't hit on us. But I mean, this is not a dating app, even though we apparently decided
shoot your
recently that
shot
it
in the
was.
bookish way.
unless you're looking for a lavender marriage.
There you go. But no, like we've said it, we said it in the beginning too, is because we did want to start bringing people on like occasionally to do specials. Oh, that's why we have Angie, and that's why we brought Spencer quite a few times. And it's one of those things like that is something that I still would love to do. It'd be so much fun because it's kind of like a kind of bonding experience, I guess, with the people
Well,
who
and it gives
listen.
a different perspective other than
Right,
just ours
than
all the
just
time.
us. And so it's one of those things that like that's something we still are cool with. We haven't expressed that in a very long time, but like that's why we encourage like just email us or
We
message
get
like we don't
distracted
care.
very
We
easily.
get yeah, it's the ADHD. But it's one of those things like definitely reach out to us, let us know. Like yes,
We
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 want
we
to be
got
friends.
distracted by shiny Angie and then we stopped looking.
Yeah.
I have that effect on people.
Oh
Anyway,
man.
Because then we just adopted Angie and then we
Well,
didn't give
cuz
her back.
no, and and it's so funny because I thought about that one time. I was like, "Oh my God. Imagine though, if more people started doing this, would we try to be friends with everybody? Because then we would have more friends. Because I don't think we went into reaching out with Angie and bringing her into this to becoming like best friends. I don't, that was not our goal. Like that was
No.
not our,
was
hey,
certainly not
we're
on my
gonna
bingo
absorb
card,
you.
but I'm glad it happened.
Did not absorb her into us. That was weird.
Yes,
To
like a
just like
lather
be our like
cream.
to be our best friend, but it ended up happening. So
It
sometimes
puts
I
the
think like
lotion
that
on
I'm like,
its
oh
skin
my
or else
god,
it
is
gets
that
the
what's going to
hose
happen?
again.
And it's not to say that no one else has reached out, because we had someone else reach out and then we got
They
ghosted.
flaked. Yeah.
And it doesn't really bother us that much, but it only bothers us when we have like a schedule to keep and we want to get things done, and we have like a way we do things. So something like that, we were like, oh fuck.
It
But
kind of turned us off to like
so if
I
you're
I
actually
think
serious and
that
you're
I think
willing,
that one I think we had initially right I think that one had turned us off to like actively looking because we had set up a time to
and
record
we
with
said,
somebody
and
else
we
and
did
they
it twice
flaked.
because
Yeah.
she flaked the first time and then apologized, and we're like, it's okay because life happens, we understand. But then it happened a second time and we never heard
And she
back.
like totally ghosted.
And so it's one of,
Like
yeah,
whatever.
so that really kind of put us off a little bit about it. I mean, we're still obviously open to it as long as people are actually serious to do it.
Or just communicate.
Yeah, that too. we
Well,
We're
we are
pretty
shitty about
easygoing.
communicating to each other, but like
Right, but
communicate
like
with
we're
us,
pretty easygoing. Like we
yeah.
understand life happens.
I don't know, we're bitches.
I'm only usually a bitch to people who email and they're like, "Can you send me the book?" Sure, I will send you the Amazon link.
That
Here you
has
go.
been an interesting part of
I
doing
would
this.
even then I wouldn't be like you're better than me. I'd be like Google is free.
I
Like,
had
what do you
to
mean? What do
be
you
nice in
mean?
comments sometimes. Sometimes it's usually me that is
Mm.
the nice commenter back because Ariel is mean.
Girl. Okay,
So
I
I
have
am
to be
I'm
nice for my
usually the
definitely
day
one.
probably
job.
the mean one in this relationship.
Yeah.
I have to be nice for my day job. I have made what I do so accessible to the fact that I made a link tree for my place of work and like made it so like blasted this thing out, put it everywhere. So anytime I get a random ass email that says, "Hey, can you send me the link to, or can I ask you the same question that I've like you've been answering nonstop for the past year and a half?" No, I won't be doing that.
Yeah.
Do
So,
better.
so 2024 was quite a year. And I think that one of our challenges, I think Crystal and I both had this challenge, was there were many times where we found ourselves having trouble because the only thing we had time for was reading podcast books.
Yeah.
And we had to kind of almost take a step back and try to prioritize our regular love of reading. Not that we didn't like what we were reading, but sometimes when it's a chore, you don't really want to dive into it.
Mhm. I
That's
agree.
fair.
But I want to know what everyone's maybe favorite reads of 2024 were, maybe their least favorite reads, maybe just crazy reads that they just remember vividly.
Well, I
Okay.
started off my year with Breaking Rosalind, so it was pretty much downhill from there. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Girl, for real.
I'm kidding.
I'm
I
not.
read the majority of the Ice Planet Barbarians and Ice Home series this year, and it was
Mm.
definitely like anytime I was in a slump or like it just those beautiful barbarians
Yeah, they
have
were
my entire
my
heart.
in-between books too, and I really liked that I could fall back on having them as an in-between, or if like I didn't really have time to read like a full book in between podcast books that I could rely on them.
Agreed. Crystal?
Oh boy. I read so many different books this year. Like, obviously, the whole Alchemy series, especially my favorite book, which I'm not going to tell you, came out, and that basically destroyed my soul, like, nicely, in a nice way, in the best way. And then reading the Emily Antoinette books this year was
Hmm.
so great because it's a different genre than I'm used to. And then, like, weirdly enough, a book, I mean, obviously, I really love the Ice Planet Barbarians. I'm the one who got Ariel to read them, so you're welcome.
And I feel like we've really gone on a like a what the fuck read tangent this
Yes.
year and
Yeah.
read a lot of
We have on purpose.
yeah.
But the a read that something that I read this year that I like was kind of surprised. So obviously, so I read The Fourth Wing this year, and then I was like, you know what? Let's dive into more like separate. So I started reading the ACOTAR series. Still stuck on book 3, but here we are. And then
Oh Lordy.
yep. And then I was telling Ariel about this, the Inked in Blood, the Fate Inked in Blood. And it was so different than what I'm used to reading, and it was really, really good. So I tried to really expand out what I read this year, but I think the top books for me were the entire rest of the Alchemy series, and then the Emily Antoinette books because they were just so cozy and happy, and I loved them. Unhinged books, the only one that sticks out in my fucking mind is the goddamn balloon animal one. Okay.
Huh.
You know what sticks out in my mind? The pickle one, Ariel. Hey,
How about the deviled egg one?
Bro.
I want to say that I'm pretty proud of myself though, because just notoriously I am pretty stingy with my ratings. For instance, in 2023, I rated one book 5 stars.
You've gotten more less stingy.
you've
Yes.
gotten more generous.
So in 2024, I rated 4 books 5 stars.
Ooh,
Wow. Look
So
at that growth.
that is a 400% markup.
that's great.
I'm pretty proud of myself.
That's
I'm
awesome.
a 5 star whore. Like I if it gave me the warm and fuzzies or made me cry, you're getting 5 stars out of
That's
me.
so
Like
funny.
So my 5 star reads were Breaking Rosalind, Space for More from
Mm,
Emily Antoinette,
so good.
and 2 books from the Jewelry Box series, which again, we are going to be
Rerunning.
rerunning consecutively for the next 4 weeks until we hit February.
I will say my reading definitely expanded a lot. Like I read a lot more romantasy this year. I read the Ledge series by Stacey Mc, which was a whole trip. Like it was ridiculously good. I got very, very deep into hockey romance and
Yes, you did.
I spent like 3 months just mooning over Sloane St. James series. Like it was a thing. But I also got to art for some of my favorite authors, Shane Rose, Catherine Amora. I also got to art for one of my newer favorite authors, Victoria Wilder. And like I remember finishing that first book and then immediately finding her on TikTok because I'm like that and friending her and being like, when is the next book coming out? Do you have arcs open? Like, I need to know. I need the next book immediately. Like, and like, that's another thing, like reaching out to authors and them actually reaching back out to me. Like,
Awesome.
you guys think you're nobody. You have a podcast. I have nothing. I
We
have
talk into the
literally,
void. Just because we bought microphones doesn't mean.
yeah, the
For real
void, which
though.
apparently has, several ears. But yeah, that was a another cool thing.
So we had a moment where we were reading that Ava book, for Christmas, because our makeup book.
Mhm.
It was so funny because she had a huge New Hampshire reference in it. And then she went out of her way to explicitly say there will be no daddy references in this book, like within the book. And we were like, did someone tell her? Did our one listener tell her about our whole month that we dedicated to her? Is this book for us?
We were the delusional
Is
ones.
this
We
fucking song, is this fucking show about us?
we were so Delulu.
We love being
LOL.
Delulu. So, 2024, 2024 is over.
20 twerk it.
Twerk,
Um,
twerk.
we did a lot. We accomplished a lot. We went through a lot, and now it's over. But so I feel like we just did so much this past year, and now we are thinking about next year.
What 2025 is going to entail for us.
And what might that look like as far as, are you thinking you'll be reading anything wildly different or
I think we're going to continue our quest to broaden our horizons and make sure that our wheels are diverse and make sure that we are challenging ourselves. We have a lot of requests on the docket for either specials or to be put in the wheels if they fit into categories and slots. We've already talked about that though it was very chaotic, we did enjoy dedicating the ending months of the year to
The
themed
holidays.
holidays, that we're probably going to do that again.
I
that's
think
really
we've kind of hit our stride in like it took us a year and a half to get I mean, but it's fine. It's all always learning. But I feel like we finally got our stride into recording, editing, this, picking books and like kind of structuring our year out a little bit. We did things a little bit different in the background of stuff throughout the year, and it just seemed to help us a lot more. And I think that, I mean, that was really helpful. So I think we're going to continue that into next year. Obviously, like we have other goals and stuff like that. Like I started uploading the biggest thing that ended 2024 is I started doing all the current specials in video form.
Yeah, she's not going back. She's
I'm
just
not
moving
going back.
forward.
They're going to stay. And going forward, I am also making sure that those videos for the specials are also put into Spotify. I actually had a comment the other day. For the record, guys, we read every comment. You're welcome. And most of the time I respond when I remember. But I actually had a comment on Spotify very recently. Let me pull it up really quick on my side. On one of the specials. Do, 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 do. Someone said, I love seeing the video. It's so fun and it caught me off guard. And that was
Well,
cute.
because Spotify actually newly, what was it, the beginning of December or the
Something
end of
like that.
November, allowed us to put the videos on. So it
And
wasn't
honestly,
actually
we weren't thinking
new.
about it either. So the video was more of a new thing because we actually had a girl on TikTok who wanted them.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I knew that I only knew it
And
was a
Crystal's like,
thing
meh, let me
because
try.
I watched an episode of the comment section, which is Drew Afwalo's
Hmm.
podcast, because she teamed up with a guy that the only book I read this year that was written by a man was Kyle Prue's
I
How to
love him
Piss
so
Off
much.
Men.
I love him so much.
Kyle Prue's How to Piss Off Men. Yes, it is available on, yeah. And I didn't even read it in its entirety, but I keep it on my person just in case, little handbook.
He's so
Yeah,
good.
it's awesome. But she had him on, and it was like a crossover episode because it's like two men hating individuals.
Hmm.
And it was glorious.
Hmm.
And I have Spotify Premium and I was able to, like, I looked up, I was only gonna listen to the episode while I washed the dishes or something, and then I was like, oh shit, the video is up there too.
Hmm.
So, which brings me to my next question, because the video, even though it was free and available to me and I pay for Spotify Premium, it did come with like sponsored ads. So, if let's take off our only two people listening to us and we're not anything hats, and let's put on our dreamer hats for half a second. And if you could have any sponsors, like any sponsors in the world, who would you want as a spot? Like, who would you be interested in making that business relationship with?
Who wants to pay me money?
Just kidding. I'm just fucking with you.
Okay, that's Crystal's mentality.
I'm just kidding.
For
I'm just
me,
kidding. I'm just
no, no, no,
kidding.
no, no, but that's okay. For me, the ideal sponsorship for us would probably be somebody like Audible or Kindle Unlimited because
Mhm.
we do
Use them.
like use that. Something that we
Use those
use.
programs.
So,
Right. And can actively say, hey, we're using this. Maybe something like Storygraph or something that, is actively being used, which, by the way, I'm switching over to Storygraph for 2025 completely.
Storygraph is the service, or for those of,
I'm sick of
listeners who
Goodreads
don't
and
know,
I'm sick
okay.
and
It's
Storygraph's better.
basically like a different Goodreads
Yeah.
yeah,
book tracker.
so as far as sponsors and stuff go, so that actually is something that I even told Ariel that I'm going to look into more. Especially, so Audible does offer like a program kind of thing where like we have the link and all that other stuff and we would earn
So
commission and stuff from that.
the sponsor thing is my fault. Crystal has come to me many, many, many times and
Yes, continue coming, Crystal.
and we've had a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities just through our website that we use that gets that podcast out there and whatnot. I have always wanted to stay authentic to who we are. I have never wanted to be like some
Doing
I listen
something for the purpose of
well,
a dime.
right, and I listen to podcasts and I hear the people that do these ads and it's just none of it sounds legit. None of it sounds authentic. And they're
Or
like,
organic.
or organic at all. It's like a interruption. It's like, do you want unchapped lips? Well, don't you know my favorite flavor of Burt's Bees is this? And I'm like, I don't want
No
to do
shade to
that.
Bird's Bees.
No, but that just happened to be on one of the podcasts I just recently listened to. But
Gotcha.
I don't I don't like it. And Crystal hates that. I don't like it. But
It's not that.
I
It's
didn't
the thing is
I
You don't
told
want to
her
we
you don't
so
when
want to
very
tailor.
yeah, I told
um
her when we get big enough that we don't have to do the ads ourselves, I don't mind them tacking on ads to our stuff that we don't have to be inauthentic. That's fine.
Because then you don't want to have to tailor your content to
I don't
fit
right. I don't want to feel like I am being
selling out
yes, and I don't want to feel like this has always just been something for us like just as a good
for
time. I
fun.
don't want to feel like I'm just like, "Hey, I want you to buy this product that I have no interest in."
yeah.
I basically live in the middle of nowhere and do nothing. I don't have a lot of things that I'm passionate enough about product wise that I actually care enough about to promote. I just don't.
Yeah.
So,
For
sure,
me,
maybe find a protein powder or something and maybe I will get on that board. But like.
and that's the thing. So like I agree, but at the same time, to be so open with everybody, we pay in a
I know.
pretty decent chunk of money to podcast. For me, my only goal would be to
Break even.
break even. If we make no other money outside of that, fabulous. But on the same side of that, there are other
Ways to do it.
options that we have discussed between us of going in order to kind of make up for some of the money. Because, yes, the scripting program that I use has emailed before offering like a kind of half partnership thing to help promote them, which honestly, I love them and I've promoted them for free. Do you know
Hmm.
how many people I've told about the program? An aggressive amount outside of the podcast. And but that's me. Like I love the program itself. Well, it has its problems, but it's still made our lives easier. The Audible thing, I've definitely looked into that, and that is something I want to look further into. But because I also use Audible a lot, Kindle
So,
Unlimited would be a fucking dream. If they could just pay for my Kindle Unlimited, I would be
right.
happy.
Well, and actually this month in January, the podcasting program that we use RSS to put out our video, like when we upload our stuff to that website and then they're the ones that distribute it to all the platforms, they are finally going to be or either they're finally or we've hit the mark. I don't know which it is, but apparently as of January we will be allowed to do an ad insertion. So we're going to try it. We're going
And
to experiment with
we'll
it.
obviously warn people ahead of time, but it's
Yeah.
so it's one of those things that like we want to do that because yes, while this is fun, we
It
are
is a
poor.
time, yeah, time
We are
consuming and
poor.
yeah.
But on that note too, one of the goals for this year, and it's been kind of like in our heads for a bit, is like any form of merch. And
Mhm.
it's only
I
because
wanted to ask about that.
That is one of Crystal's goals for the year.
yeah,
She really wants to
I can make
pick that
stickers,
up.
I can make
Mhm.
vinyl, I can make a lot of things, and then
And I spout my mouth off and give all kinds of ideas all the time. And she's like, I'm writing that down so I can make it. But then we get distracted and do all kinds of other stuff. But that is really something that she wants to make a priority this year.
and that is and so we just have to we're trying to find a way to A, get that done and accomplished, and then also finding the way to promote and sell the merch as well. So it's a lot of logistical stuff coming down, but that is something that we want to do, and we have discussed it pretty heavily throughout this entire year, that
Mhm.
is something that we do want, because that is another avenue to
But again, this is a hobby for us. So that's
Mhm.
why things are more
I
slow
can't wait.
going.
I can't wait for my Smutty Bookcast hoodie. Just to curl
Oh,
up
that'd be
with
so
my hoodie,
So I
my
tried,
Smutty Bookcast throw blanket,
I
and my
tried
Smutty
doing
Bookcast
shirts.
sticker on my
I tried doing shirts. So I did a shirt for Crystal and I just as a tester. And I was all proud of it. And
it's
until they
see-through.
came in, and maybe Crystal could wear it to a mosh pit with like a neon sports bra or
bra.
something because it's like mesh see-through.
Yeah.
Fun.
I
That
did
is
have
not how it was. Yeah, I
no. I also do have
was my
so
that was my attempt.
I mean, so I'm sure everyone knows, so I deliver. I'm a delivery driver for
Mhm.
Amazon. And I actually have a business that I deliver to pretty regularly that is a screen printing business. And they did give me a card. And he said, if because he had overheard me on the
Oh,
phone
that's right.
with
That's right.
Ariel talking about stuff. And he did say, like, afterwards, he goes, I don't mean to be creepy. He's like, I promise I wasn't trying to overhear. I'm like, no, I talk really loud. But and so that's something that I have in my back pocket to also kind of look into as well, is like figuring stuff out. So it's just logistics that we would have to work out for the but that is on the goal list. I think I had a list written down somewhere.
Yeah, I wanna get a discreet hoodie that I can wear all the
Mm,
time
yes.
because I only go like three places. I
I
go to
would
work,
also,
which is a
I don't
school
even care
building.
if it's a discreet hoodie. I
I was gonna
just
say we
don't,
need a
I
hoodie for
just,
Angie
yeah.
Yes.
that has your name on it and
Oh,
yeah.
that'd be so fun. Yeah, so there's that kind of stuff. So 2025 is a lot of it's less changing the content and more kind of enhancing
Yeah,
things,
I
I
think it's more
guess.
just fine-tuning
So
ourselves
I
and
also have the goal this year. I want to work on redesigning the logo. I love our logo. Do not get me wrong. I spent a lot of fucking time on that goddamn thing, especially Ariel and I back and forth. But I think that like revamping it a little bit and kind of
she just
like
wants to make it
change
easier
easier for merch
to
opportunities,
make
guys.
merch out of, right?
If you would like help, I know that you got it, but if you would like help,
I appreciate that. The only other thing that I thought about revamping, and I'm probably not going to do it, was our intro music, because I do really like our intro music a lot.
No.
I just wanted to change a little bit of
You
something, but I
change
probably
the
won't.
hey,
endings all the
I
time.
only change the special endings. I don't change any other things. Our intro outro
audience
music is always the
engagement
same.
opportunity poll. If you think that the
You can do a
intro
TikTok
music
poll.
should
There you go.
change,
It's one of those things. It's just there's
Yes.
a lot of stuff that
Do
goes
you
through our
like our intro
brains.
music? Do you think that it keeps us on brand to keep it as is? Because I think it keeps us on brand to keep it as is.
Yeah. So
I
there's a
mean,
Or do we need to
you're
lot.
change
still
it?
early enough where you can change up the
But
stuff
honestly, we
before you
get plenty of
become,
comments on our intro music and
oh,
that they
I
like
love
it.
it.
Yeah.
I would
I don't think we should
also
change it, but
maybe think about
I think Crystal just
opening.
wants an excuse to play with music again.
I do. It's so much fun. I would like to go back and try to re-implement our like once a month TikTok lives.
So you know what? I was thinking about that the other day when I was making dinner the other day, and I was thinking about the fact that we had this on scheduled to do this, and I was like, are we getting together for like a day all day thing? Should I have prepared food for us to make? And I was sitting there having my internal little panic, and I was like, wow, we haven't cooked together in so long.
Yeah, I want to go back to doing that.
It's like
I
sad
think that would be
face.
fun, like a cooking baking thing. So that is also something I would like to go back to
Interactive.
doing.
If
And
TikTok's
then
still a thing.
we we discussed it last year about opening up our Discord. So we have a Discord channel that is just her and I because we used to record in Discord and Ariel forgot.
Well, it's not that I forgot. I just didn't realize that that was something that other people could join.
Yeah, you can open
Oh,
up channels for people to join.
I don't know a lot about Discord,
hmm
so
So I thought about that too, and that would be something that we could do at some point and then set up like so it there's so much background stuff that we want to get done. So there's just a lot of goals. And I don't know. Fine. We hit almost 5,000 this year, so why don't we aim for like 7,000
6
next year?
next year, maybe.
I'm gonna say 10.
That is a hefty
That's
goal,
a hefty goal. Hefty,
but
hefty,
it
hefty.
could
I think you
work.
could do it.
I
I
think
think that
it could happen.
the biggest hurdle personally for me for anything is being consistent. And you guys have, through scheduling issues, through life stuff coming up, through everything, through literal like world going up in flames, you guys have been
Some of our episodes
consistent.
have been a little cray
Hey,
cray in the consistent, but
consistency does not account for quality, which is, in my opinion, still awesome, but that's neither here nor there. You guys have been consistent enough where I feel like you guys can just, I mean, you guys can do anything you set your minds to.
Angie likes to gas us up.
Angie's a great cheerleader.
Yeah.
I will say though that I feel like our outlook is a little bit better of allowing for grace and breathing room, which is why we have our January as it is. And it's going to give us time to front load our start of our season a little bit so that when things do get a little crazy, we're not scrambling. But I do think it will also allow us that, hey, if we get mid-year and we've lost our buffer, taking a week or two off to do a couple reruns is not going to make us cry.
Yeah.
Most, I don't think, I'm pretty sure most podcasts don't go straight through every single week
They
for a
don't.
whole year.
No.
So it's not the end of the world for us to take a minute
And
to,
it took us some time to
it took
come to
us
that conclusion.
to be allowed to breathe for a minute.
Breathe.
Yeah. But
I
it took
do
us a
want
while to get there, but
I do want to bring some positivity in for a second, if
some what?
I'm
Sorry.
allowed. Positivity,
Oh,
you know, the fun things. So, as I've mentioned multiple times, we read everything. Surprisingly, I have not seen many bad comments, but the amount of really good ones has kind of like
actually, yeah. The amount of like lack of
soothed our
hate
soul a little bit.
that we've gotten actually is probably pretty surprising.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah. Because
So,
typically, like when you're online, you kind of get a like a
you get
50-50
comfortable.
mix kind of
Mixed
And people
thing,
bag.
are very
a mixed
comfortable
bag.
speaking.
Right.
So I just want
But we've
to,
been very blessed, I think, to
yeah,
get instead of more of a mixed bag, more of an overflowing of like a positive
yeah.
response when people like reach out to us.
And it really warms our dead hearts a lot. And so I just want to read a couple of them. So I've pulled some from Spotify. We had one
And like
actually.
so we see everything. We see the comments on TikTok, we see the inbox comments, we see the emails, we see comments on Spotify, YouTube, Apple. We see
We
any
are
kind of
our own
comments.
admin
Yeah,
team. No one
exactly.
sees anything but us. So it's comments like this that like make me want to cry. And it just says, I love you guys so much. It feels like I have two new best friends who are as crazy and love reading. And I was like,
For those listening, Crystal's Grinch, I feel something.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's it's my heart. It's
I would read you
Crystal's heart grew
guys's.
2 sizes that day.
I know. Another one was, to be honest, I love when y'all go off on weird ass talks. I can find myself forgetting about the story itself, and it's great to enjoy what y'all do. And I was like, also wanted to cry. There is one comment that was not so positive, and I'm still going to read it, and I don't
Oh.
care. And this was a comment that I responded to because Aria would have been mean. And it just says, I was really enjoying your podcast and was recommending it to my friends, but now that you guys have gone into politics, I'll see myself out. Here's the
Okay,
thing.
listen.
We didn't,
Hang
That
on.
I know exactly what Ariel's about to say. That
No,
was on an episode where we only mentioned one thing where we said, please vote as if you like women or want to be with a woman. And that was all we said. And yes, after that, we did go off on a couple tangents multiple times. And if anything, we are
After
petty.
that episode.
We are
Yeah.
petty.
But that one episode was all that we said was make sure you vote. It's important to get out and vote, but especially if you have women in your life that you care about, if you love, and somebody took offense to saying
which is kind
vote
of
if
wild.
you love someone.
So then we got
So
political because then
so
we went
then
off the
we
deep
were
end.
like, well, fuck that shit. We won't keep our tongues quiet then.
It's
And
like,
then the band-aid got ripped off.
Yeah.
if you thought that was political, let me show you how political I can
Let
really
me right,
be.
let me show you.
So back to
How
positive now.
bad can I be? Dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun,
And
dun,
we
dun.
all know from experience when we open up the can of Ariel Petty spaghetti,
We dedicate an entire month to being petty.
it doesn't fucking get back on.
Yeah,
The
I
cap
remember
doesn't get
that
back
one.
on
That one
again.
was fun.
Yep. So back to positive. I love you guys so much. Y'all get me through long car rides, shifts, and just any long period of time I get bored. You girls are so hilarious and I love it. Keep up the great work. And these are like so many. So those are just some. And when we go into YouTube, we have some that are like, you guys are funny as fuck. Thank you so much for storytelling. It really means a lot, which was cute. Just keep doing what you're doing. Going off the rails is what keeps folks motivated to watch your content. And I absolutely love this. It made my day. I always look forward to your filthy podcasts, which is so funny. There's so many little things that we see, and I interact pretty heavily on YouTube comments. I'll always respond back to them. And it's just it's so interesting to go through the comments and realize that like no one's being like super mean. And I kind of love that for us because I think that that was our main concern originally is like we both come across as hard, we're soft. And I think that if people were consistently really, really just leaving horrible comments to things,
I
it
would have
would
gotten
probably
banned
affect
from the
us really
internet.
hard. I
There's a
just wanted to bring that positivity in here because, like, for me, yes, this is just between Ariel and I, and we joke, two people, blah, 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 one person, Ariel's laughing over there.
No,
But
I
at
was
this,
just laughing at one of the comments.
oh
Somebody
God.
commented on Credence because they were
Oh,
laughing
yeah,
because of our why we I read that book
yeah.
and put it in October because it scared us.
Yeah.
Because it
aw,
scared us, so we put it in October.
Yeah. Ariel does all the TikTok
valid.
comments. Is the active person on TikTok. And so if you're talking to someone, you're talking to her. And she is you actively message, respond back. I also will respond with my personal account. I'll respond to different things on there. I'll comment on there. So like we are very active. I just think reading all of the nice things like is so interesting. And then Ariel getting messages about like nice things and we'll share it with each other and just know that we group chat, we send screenshots back and forth to each other and we'll be like, "Oh my God," and like be really sappy and gross about it.
I like my last question was just going to be, is there anything that you're particularly looking forward to in the new year?
A brand new wheel.
Yeah, I think probably just getting back on our wheel because we have had the last 3 months without one. So again, spinning the wheel's fun. I don't think
I miss the
I
wheel
don't know if
sound.
people realize that the wheel is an authentic thing for us. We literally put all of the picks in a generator and just press the button and we read whatever comes up.
Hmm.
And
And that's the most
it's
chaos we have
fun.
in our life. Because we're such control freaks that sometimes it's kind of nice to have something else pick for us. And that's why for the whole month of December, we had Angie Saves the Holidays because we made Angie pick every book, which was
It
cool.
was awesome.
We needed
All
that
I did
little
was read
we needed that
descriptions.
little dopamine boost.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, like lasting thought you
I
guys
just
would
I
like
want
to
to
leave
thank
your
everybody who
listeners with?
does listen and everybody who does share. And
Yeah.
then also for Angie taking her time out of her days to join us for so
Hmm.
many
Stop
different
it.
things. No, but for real, like you took the
Hmm.
time to do this with us. You take the time to message us and send us things throughout our group chat. And you've become like such an integral part of just
Our
the
cult.
podcast of our cult because this is a cult.
She's our cult
If
mascot.
you don't stop, I'm gonna cry. Stop
Oh.
it.
But like for real though, like it's so appreciative. And then
If
um
Angie didn't have her own life, she'd be with us every week.
right.
Seriously,
She's just way too busy for
And it would
us.
end up being a 3-person podcast instead of two.
Yes.
But it's
honestly,
just
think
but
about quitting my day job all the time.
but I seriously like people who listen and everything and make the comments and share the stuff and use our
Like
sounds for
we
things on
see it and
TikTok.
we appreciate it.
Yeah, really a lot. It makes me want to cry if I had emotions. I'm just kidding. I have so many.
Which she clearly doesn't.
I just appreciate everybody and then of course like obviously Ariel because we deal with each other and if one of us needs to take a break for a minute, we're like, okay, sounds great.
Yeah, but we
Unless
know that we can.
unless we text
The
them
other
five
one's
minutes
got it.
before we're supposed to record and then we're like, shit.
And I'm like, Crystal, I could have been in my bed for another half hour.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
like,
Due to this morning.
what the
Yeah.
hell? And I'm like,
It's
no,
like,
I'm
well,
just
I didn't know
complaining.
until
I know.
just now.
I'm just
Ariel does it to me
complaining.
too.
I know.
It's
Oh, I do
fine.
it all the time. Can we, do you have anything going on? Can we move this to the afternoon? And I'm sure every single time I do that, Crystal's like, I got up for you. Are you
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
kidding me?
If it's an 8 a.m. recording, absolutely I'm upset.
But I don't usually do that the day
No,
of. I usually do it the night before
it's
because
just the day
I know
before.
better than that.
Yeah.
I know
I
better.
think it's so interesting how Crystal's the night owl and Ariel's the early bird. But
And we had a podcast
Ariel's
together. It's so
also
weird, right?
also like when this first started out, Crystal was like the small town girl, so she'd be up late into the night reading about small town stuff. Meanwhile, Ariel wakes up and chooses violence in her
Every
dark
day.
romance every single day. Like
I
wakes
am
up at 5 choosing violence.
I did. I woke up at 5:30
Probably like
this morning.
4:30.
Well, okay, I woke up at
Dude.
5:30 this morning. Because I didn't have an alarm. I woke up at 5:30 this morning because I had to pee. And
But I do think you both have rubbed off on each other.
Oh,
yes.
for sure.
And
Like,
I'm finally reading the duet that came out by Gigi Sticks that I've literally been trying to read forever, but podcast stuff and everything has gotten in the way. And I wanted to read this before the end of
mhm,
2024. And so I've been starting to read that. It's the I Will Break You. It's and I Will Mend
mhm.
You. So I've been starting to read that. So yes, I was up at 5:30 this morning choosing violence.
I think it's really interesting how that works. But you also have both like Crystal's been expanding and like actively choosing to read more dark romance things, whereas you don't immediately gag at small town romance anymore.
No, I read
She's reading it on her own too.
I am.
Yeah, like you're
And
choosing it. Like that's
yeah,
what I mean.
and I've been
Like,
reading a
She's
lot
choosing love
of
and violence.
aren't we all?
yeah, I agree. We've been expanding and that's a good thing. And I hope to continue expanding into 2025. If anyone has any requests that they would like to send us to help us with that, or anything just specific they'd like us to read, make sure to send us those. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. You can email us. All the
Everything's
places.
in our link tree.
Yeah, find our link tree, all the jazz.
Yeah. And we love you. And we love Angie.
Yes.
And I love
Thank
you
you
guys.
for listening. And here's to another good year. Make sure to keep reading.
And keep it smutty.
In the corner.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, fuck.